With the pledge of allegiance.
Yes. Madam President, we have representatives from Chicago Elementary School this evening to lead us in the pledge, right? Principal McHenry?
Yes, and they also learned a wonderful song to commemorate the 250-year birthday of the United States. So
let's go.
Okay. All right, you ready?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave?
Yeah!
Well done, Schickler family.
Thank you guys very much.
It's already the best meeting.
Oh, I figured. I didn't want to get in the way.
Okay, we really appreciate it, Don. Thank you for coming. Next, we have a special recognition this evening. So I will also hand that over to Superintendent Laundrie.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my distinct pleasure to introduce our District Athletic Director, Mr. Chad Skolsky, to share a little bit about our 2026 Girls Soccer SPL Championship team being recognized this evening by the Board of Education. Chad, take it away.
Awesome, thank you guys. Oh, you got rid of me? For those who don't know, I like to have long presentations, so buckle up, here we go.
Last one.
No, it'll be short and sweet. Again, thank you for having us tonight. I'm not going to talk a lot because I'm going to let Coach Shea up here and talk, but we want to recognize the first ever girls soccer team SVL championship that was won Grand Blanc on the 20th of May. Great game beating Grand Blanc for the first time in a long time on a header. It was just an amazing season. We'll let Chet talk a little bit about it. But before we get too far, I just want to recognize, obviously, we have a lot of kids on this team, and it takes a team effort to do this. You know, and unfortunately, not everybody gets recognized. I know Coach Shea will look into it, but just want to kind of recognize the ones who within our league who were recognized because we were the dominant team of the SVL this year. So, first team members this year were Morgan Wilcox. Woo! Second team was Ryan Tuckerberry. And now it's my great honor to bring up the Coach of the Year.
Yeah!
Yeah, appreciate it. Come on, girls, let's go. Team, let's go. Duncan, get up here. It takes a village, and as obviously you can see, I have a great village. I have a wonderful soccer family right here. Great parents, 13, 4, and 1 overall. They had 12 shutouts. Woo! Wow. Yeah! Scored 58 goals, I think, and only gave up 14 in 18 games. So, you know what makes a great coach, Mr. Reiner, we already talked about this, is great players. And I have a great group of players right here, and wonderful staff as well, because as Mr. Spilsky said, I don't do it alone. But if you look around, I have an amazing soccer family. You know, not only my mom, but look at all the moms and dads. I'm so blessed, right? I've had a lot of really good mentors, but this is about them and that championship that they earned. So give it up for them. And you'll notice Mr. Watson there, if you can stand there, a former soccer parent right there. It's out there as well. You can get your signature championship shirt as well. So.
That's right.
But thanks for having us. We appreciate it.
Before we go too far, I want to have the girls go around and introduce themselves. And for our seniors who are going, so I think one of the proud things about our athletic program this year, I think this team specifically has more kids going to play college athletics than any of our teams in the district.
Woo! On top of that, we have 13 of 18 players, 13 of 17 that are 4.0 or higher, and they are academic all-state with an average team GPA. All 17 of them average out to 4.01. Luckily, that didn't have much.
Let's start with our seniors. Just talk about what your next step is, or where you're headed, or whether you're going or not. But.
Hi, my name's Riley. I'm going to Illinois Tech, and I'm playing soccer there, and I'm going to be studying architecture.
I'm Addie. I'm going to Wayne State University to study exercise science. I'm Ryan. I'm going to Michigan State to study nursing. I'm Erin. I'm going to Delta to study dental hygiene and play soccer. Hi, I'm Madison. I'm going to Mont to play basketball, and I'm studying. I'm studying biomedical science. Hi, I'm Morgan. I'm going to Wayne to play soccer, and I'm studying environmental engineering. Hi, I'm Mason. I'm going to Elma College to play soccer and study nursing. Hi, I'm Ellery. I'm going to Michigan Ann Arbor, and I'm studying pre-dental. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm finishing cosmetology program and will continue to play soccer.
Congratulations, lady, on a great season.
Woo!
Well, in honor of the Board of Education and Superintendent Wannery, we want to give you guys a certificate of achievement.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Because we wanted to get a photo. So.
Squeeze.
Yes, we do. Well, we don't want that in this picture. So, you need to see it like laid across.
You want me to lay it out? I might not get back to you.
We got to put it on the side or something.
Just put that on the ground.
Yeah, there it is. Nice. Okay.
Can't sit back, okay? Sit. Sit.
baby.
You don't want me dipping.
Uh-oh. I'll help you back up. Everyone good?
Oh, shoot. We gotta get Leah's hair.
Start over.
Okay? Alright. You want to down?
Mason, lower her just in here. Lower. This is why we're here.
Oh, is it?
Who says board meetings can't be fun?
Alright. Let's go, Maddie. Hands in. Hey, bolt on three!
1, 2, 3, bolt!
Ava, you didn't mention anything about these.
There is merch out there.
How are you?
You raised us right, Joe. You raised us Krista, come on. Get a hold of the team here, coach. Thanks, Chad. That was my shortest presentation ever. Yep. How was the betting?
Give them a second here. Okay, we will now transition into our presenting schools. So, Superintendent Wandry.
Again?
I mean, a lot of the agenda.
Who's running this meeting?
tonight.
Thank you, Madam President. It is my pleasure to introduce Henry, our principal of Chipper Elementary, to present their goal for the year, Strategy 2.2. Michelle? And Michelle and team.
All right, well, good evening. Thanks for having us today. We're excited to share with you what we've been doing with the Positivity Project at our school and show you how it's been having a positive impact with our students. Our goal this year was the implementation of high-quality, multi-tiered systems of support with both academics and the whole child. Tonight we wanted to talk about the whole child focus we've been working on because we know that if our children don't feel safe, valued, or connected, they don't learn the best that they can. You might be wondering, what is the Positivity Project? Well, I'm going to tell you. The Positivity Project is a research-based pre-K through 12 character education program, and it's grounded around the 24 character strengths of positive psychology, such as integrity, perspective, humility. And the ultimate goal of P2 is to create resilient and empathetic adults who will positively contribute to the workplace, families, and in their communities. It's a proactive approach to teaching character, and it provides in the Tier 1 category character lessons for all students. And one of the most important attributes of it that we appreciate is the shared vocabulary. So you'll hear a kindergartner, a fourth grader, a para, a teacher, all saying, humility, gratitude. And it's nice and it gives us that feel of community when we're all talking about the same concept. And the Positivity Project is also referred to as P2, so if you hear me say that, that's what that means. Schickler does it, but so does Murphy, Turl, Roland Warner, and Zummer. And so we kind of feel like it's a collective thing for our district. As you can see on this timeline, we've evolved throughout the years. Our first year, we were trying the lessons out, teaching the kids about their character strengths in our Schickler Live broadcast. And then years 2 and 3, we tacked on more and wanted to build in that homeschool connection as well. And so we brought in newsletters and Facebook posts, and we've slowly just added more to our foundation. This year, we really wanted to focus on character and action. So we wanted to take these, teamwork, for example, and have students actually work at it and see what it looks like to have teamwork versus just hearing this is what teamwork means. And so we're incredibly proud to share that because of all of our hard work and dedication, Schickler Elementary was designated as a Green Shield School. And this is an award for commitment to fostering character, relationships, and positive culture among our students and staff. And to receive this distinction, you had to have excellence in these following categories. I'm going to show them how we did that. So we did more than just a 15-minute character lesson, and there you go, we're done. We really lived and breathed it in our school. And you don't have to just take my word for it. We can listen to our experts, which are our students. So we asked students, which character strength makes you feel the most proud of who you are? Oh, no. Things like rectitude, kindness, leadership. You're doing a great job.
You're pretty close. Because a lot of the time I get really, really mad and I say things that will affect others and get me in trouble.
And so, what have you learned with P2 to help yourself when you're having those feelings?
I try to take a few deep breaths. And if it doesn't work, I try to go somewhere where I'm happy and just quiet. Or do something that makes me feel happy.
Well, that was my favorite one of them. So I'm glad you're Amber's going to continue on.
So Positivity Project in action. So thinking about that, our school motto is you, me, us, we, Schickler family. And that motto really centers around what's built in P2. Thinking about concepts like kindness, gratitude, thinking about how to be connected and stay connected as a family. Really, Positivity Project is the center of what we do. And so now we're going to explore the concepts of MTSS in the 3 tiers specifically, and we'll start with Tier 1. So thinking about Tier 1, that's universal support for all students. All students have access to this instruction throughout the day, which includes daily lessons. Michelle spoke of them, they're 15-minute lessons that are daily lessons on character strengths and 24 character strengths throughout the year. And the idea is that these lessons are simple. They kind of follow this 1-1-3 format. So there's going to be 1 quote, 1 video, and then 3 questions throughout that 15-minute lesson in which students are having discussion and building understanding of a character strength. And through those lessons, we're building common understanding, developing shared vocabulary, and building stronger relationships. And we're learning how to treat each other like other people matter. Another concept or another component of our Tier 1 instruction, Michelle spoke briefly about that we have had since the first year of our Positivity Project is Schickler Live. That is our morning news program, and we have a segment daily with P2 where we focus on developing opportunities, additional exposure to the character strengths we're focusing on that week. That also it really reinforces what is happening in the classroom. And the idea with Schickler Live is that we're shifting, and really P2 in general, shifting the idea of just like learning a vocabulary word. What is integrity? Defining it. It's about living and breathing it. And how do we treat each other as if we are part of a Schickler family? How do we treat each other with integrity and show each other kindness through connection?
For students who need more targeted opportunities to connect, we move to Tier 2. At Schickler, Tier 2 is where character education moves from the individual classroom reflection to more of a real-world group experience. We intentionally design these opportunities to reinforce positive behaviors across the entire school. Tier 2 is a structured and a safe environment that allows students to reflect on what these character strengths look like and sound like alongside their peers. So we're going to show you what this looks like in practice. We're going to start with our monthly reading assemblies. So we assemble once a month to have a shared reading experience of around one great book that exemplifies the character strength that we've been learning that month. In November, we read, for example, The Gratitude Jar by Katrina Liu, and here are some third graders that helped us understand some of the new vocabulary that was introduced in this quarter. After the assembly, we encourage students to report what they were grateful for and put it in a jar, just like what the book gave us an example of. They also enjoyed getting the opportunity to hear them share aloud over Schickler Live. We also put character into physical action through some monthly school-wide challenges, and this was new for us this year. While our reading assemblies give students a structured space to reflect on character strengths, our Tier 2 framework is also designed to get students to application. We want them to physically experience what these traits look like outside in the real world. So this year our staff developed some monthly character challenges that we called Character in Action. We didn't want students to just talk about teamwork or talk about kindness because we wanted them to actually do it. So we paired a character focus with a real live action. The goal of Character in Action is to take an abstract word and to anchor it in a tangible, community-minded project. And as you can see on the calendar, we mapped out specific bi-monthly focuses, such as teamwork, gratitude, kindness, forgiveness, and creativity, so that the entire building could really rally around one single cause. First up, as a focus for us was teamwork. Our original goal was simply to get kids to work together, but our students and our families really blew us away. Our school collected 742 boxes of cereal. And to celebrate that, we lined the boxes up and down our hallways and we created a giant school-wide domino run. And it was a really tangible and certainly a joyous physical representation of what happens when individuals work together as a team. Most importantly, our students personally saw how their character directly fed families in our community. Finally, as part of Tier 2, we were fortunate to partner with Service Learning, the Service Learning class from Zemmer, to provide some small group and peer-to-peer mentoring. This partnership was really a double win. It provided intensive Tier 2 Schickler students with a trusted older role model, and it also gave Zemmer middle schoolers a real-world leadership opportunity to practice their own character strengths.
Okay, and I'm going to talk through this final layer of support with Tier 3 support, which is individualized. It's based on individual students' needs. It could be small group, it could be one-on-one. And in this picture, this is Mrs. Pritchard, a special education student in our building. And in this lesson, she was focused on a really important foundational skill, so having communication and dialogue with a peer in a small group lesson with her students, and in that lesson she provided scripts and opportunities to practice what successful conversation and introducing yourself to a peer would look like and sound like. And after she felt like they've got these strategies under their belt, they're ready to try it out, that's exactly what they did. They went into the cafeteria and they were able to introduce themselves to a peer. So these, foundational skills of having communication with peers started right here in our language.
Said hi to new friends in the cafeteria. How did you feel?
Happy.
So, huge success here. A tier 3 student, reflecting on this process in which he was able to go introduce himself to a peer and have a conversation, and his response, how did you feel about that? Happy. A happy greeting is a huge success here.
So listening to the stories and looking at the data, this tells us that our tiered approach is working. As you can see, the number of office referrals has slowly declined over the last few years as we began implementing it. When we talk with teachers, getting their feedback, because they're on the front lines, they had positive results with it. Jamie Heasley had shared that P2 gave her class a shared vocabulary that maintained a positive classroom culture all year long. And Rachel Fisher noted that it fosters true relationships and teaches students how to reflect on themselves in positive ways. She calls them a classroom family. And the other part I really liked is getting feedback from parents. They've been noticing a positive shift as well. One second grade parent wrote that they're seeing their child grow and change in ways they've never seen before. Another parent praised how P2 helps kids think about how others feel, which actively helps form positive friendships and reduce bullying. So this shows me that, it shows all of us, that the vocabulary is going to the dinner table, right? They're talking about these things, which was our goal. So as we close our presentation, we want to leave you with one final thought of why this work matters so deeply. When words are both true and kind, they can change the world. Ultimately, it's not just about what our students learn about character strength, it's about who they become so they can go out and change the world. And we have to end with some remarks from our students. We'll see if it works. We asked them, because of the Positivity Project, I am now
A person. Like happy. Happy, not mad, like sad. What kind? Not positive. Good friend who will stand up for others. Or mindful. I'm a better person towards everybody else. Great. Have to work hard to fair with that to other people. Amazing.
So thank you very much for your time and support of Chick-fil-A.
Anyone have any questions or comments?
Great program.
This is fantastic. How the kids take what you're learning and, like you said, taking it all the way home to family and hopefully studying it, right? Yeah. And just seeing how engaged they are, and it truly does represent families. Thank you.
How do you get graded to become a SHIELD school? Like, who does that, or how does that?
So the Positivity Project was the one who grades it, and Amy actually turned in all the paper. Which paper was that? It wasn't that bad, but she did felt bad. Okay.
We had to provide them lots of, you upload different examples. Yeah. We wrote a blog, we sent in pictures, and just, it was a nice opportunity for us to really celebrate the hard work that we've been intentionally trying to put into our Chick-fil-A community. And it's nice for the community to feel recognized for that. So,
That's awesome.
yeah.
You mentioned the decline in office referrals. That's a multi-headed, discussion in terms of, do you feel there was more intentionality in the common language that happened with the staff as well?
Yeah.
In terms of environment, classroom, the relationship with kids.
Especially like the first year, you had a few teachers that were like, all right. But then when they all committed, you could see a difference when we're all saying it now. Even teachers that maybe weren't on board at the beginning, they're starting to see it, and they're like, oh, okay, this isn't such a bad deal. So I do think having that common language and everybody having buy-in has been helpful.
It's really fun culture. to see the kids use. Like if you could have seen the little, what was the little one who's like, integrity. You know, it's just like, the fact that they not only can say the word, but also have a true understanding of what it means, that they know that they want to emulate that, like that's pretty cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we will head into our public comment for this evening. A board meeting is a meeting of school district business held in public. It is not a public meeting. The board is not going to respond to those making public comment, but will direct the superintendent to follow up with the presenter. 30 minutes is set aside for public comment, so each presenter is being asked to keep their comments brief. The board does not comment in public on any student or employee and asks the presenter to be respectful of any person they comment about. Karen Pacheco.
Hello. So I got to say the only time I've ever voted against a bond or millage for schools or libraries or any of those things that I love was the bond issue where you guys were going to put everybody into the high school, the elementary kids in the high school. I went to the high school, it was Lapeer East back then, right? And as I thought about that bond issue, I didn't hear anybody else bring this up. It's like, you're going to put those elementary kids who are mostly in one classroom all day in a building with like no windows. Because we used to talk about that constantly. How many windows do you have in your schedule this year? You know, it's a big deal. I think it's very inappropriate to even think of putting that. And then as I went to the forum, I heard what Mr. Laundrie had to say about the One Lapeer plan, which kind of sounds like it's a done deal already. You want our feedback, but you kind of already know where you're going to go with that. How many windowless classrooms are in Roland Warner? Because I've been in there. I'll put it this way. How many classrooms don't have a window at child height? Some of them have like natural light coming in from above. That building wasn't designed to be an elementary class or an elementary building. It certainly wasn't designed for DK, kindergarten, and first graders. And how that matters to me, I spend every day of my life in the classroom. And when I'm in a kindergarten classroom and they're doing carpet time and they're kind of going through their day, they're doing their morning meeting, they're looking out the window and talking about the weather. They're talking about how the weather has changed. They're doing a bar graph based on that weather. So if you have all these kids who are in interior classrooms who aren't getting natural light, they're not being exposed to nature all day, how are they going to do that type of work? We know that how much we have kids on screens now, particularly post-COVID, is not good for them. It has not been good for their learning. And so now these kids are going to be separated even more from nature. I just don't like that plan at all. And we know for kids' mental health that's not good. So there are those factors, but also just in general, are we prioritizing the mental health of these students with this One Lapeer plan? Because to me, it kind of feels like warehousing. It feels like warehousing. And I can tell you, it's not like windows have gone away from classroom. Blanche Sims, the new Lake Orion Elementary, go drive by it. Huge windows in every building to the exterior and windows all along those classrooms to the interior. Tons of natural light in those buildings. We know these things matter to kids' mental health. And anxiety is at an all-time high in our kids. I was just reading it's like 1 out of 5 students have anxiety issues. I know the One Lapeer plan would be completely wrong for my nephew, who is a very high-achieving neurotypical kid, but he would have so much anxiety with this plan. So there's so much more I would love to say about this, but I think you've got to look at, and particularly our challenges in Lapeer, high poverty. I subbed in your schools for a while. High poverty. I was tremendously disturbed by what I heard on a daily basis. Abuse, domestic violence, neglect. And they need people watching them over years and seeing the changes that happen, and also with the special ed population. They need people who know what happened 2 years ago. And maybe you say it, maybe it's in a file. A lot gets left out of files, and a lot is misinterpreted from files, and you can't even know. So I hope that as you're thinking about this plan and presenting it to us, mental health, special ed, all of those things really come into play, because we just really don't like this plan at all. Thank you.
Thank you. Leslie Gibbs.
Leslie Gibbs, I'm a resident of Bayfield Township.
As a retired teacher, I've been through consolidation efforts in 2 different school districts. I have a good understanding of the pros and cons of the different plans. I personally believe that elementary school children and their families do better in as much of a traditional neighborhood-style school as possible. I realize there are many factors to consider, and this is, without question, a difficult decision. But I want to thank the staff, the community members, and the board for working together to come up with the best plan for our students and for our community.
Jessica Barlow.
I'm Jessica. I'm a mom of 3 boys in our district. And I talked to Superintendent Laundrie a week or so ago now. I wanted to kind of address a few more concerns that I have. First, I wanted to introduce you to my kids. This is them. They're all 3 at sugar right now. And there's roughly 2 years between each of them. So that means under this option A that we're considering, they would never have been in the same elementary school, which I think is really important as we start to think about some of these things. I want you to think back to when your sons, your daughters, your nieces, your nephews were 4 or 5. They were getting ready to go to kindergarten. You might have thought about it for months or years, being excited to go to kindergarten, to go to school. But then the date comes. That date comes and it's filled with excitement, but it's filled with nervousness and fear of the unknown. Nothing, now you're not scared. Kid number 2, same thing, right? But they have someone else there. They have big brother, they have big sister. Ride that bus with them, to go to that school, help them figure out where they're supposed to go get breakfast. Help them remember where their room was. Help them figure out where they need to go at recess time. And yeah, the teachers do that, but they don't know them yet. They're a stranger still. And then maybe midday, your little one, they're 4, they're 5. They have a case of nervousness through the day. You know what Schickler did? Their teachers helped my kids find their sibling for a moment of comfort, and that made a difference. My kids had a moment of positivity when they could have just had fear. And that's a big thing that we're losing out on that. They had positive experiences where they didn't have to just be fine and get through. They could thrive. And I think that's what we all want for all of the kids in our district. Is we want them to excel in everything that they do and can do. So what I'm asking you to consider is that difference when you're thinking of these plans and the strategic plan options. That, yeah, many of our kids can muddle through, but why should they have to if there's other options that can be had? We know that relationships are supported evidentially to give positive impacts on the children in their present and in their future. Consistent long-term relationships with non-parental adults are important. Close relationships with their peers are important. And when there's 200 kids of the same age in a building, it's harder. It's going to be much harder to learn who Sam is, who Tommy is, when they're switching classrooms from year to year. The other thing I brought up to Mr. Laundrie is cross-age mentorship. Right now, our programs allow that. The big kids can learn from the littles can learn from the bigs. They learn how to read, they learn how to empathize, they learn the positivity project, they learn how to communicate across different levels and styles, they learn to rely and support each other. And in an age when we're spending so much time and energy on mental health, for the safety of all of our kids and all of our community, we need to foster these relationships, not eliminate them. And there's one more thing I wanted to consider as far as that. Just that is a big, huge deal. The other factors, we have school choice and play, right? And we're the district of choices, which is, I assume, a play for that, right? But when we have that and we look at what people consider important when they're looking at school choice decisions, and when they make those, 20% of them make that when they are entering school for the first time. 26% of them make that decision when they're transitioning to a new building. 61% of families mark it as important to their decision is seeking a safe and supportive environment. 47 are seeking a positive social environment.
1 minute remaining.
Okay. And that's kind of the end of my comments, really. I just want you to consider all of those factors that we lose when we split our ages up and we divide them up. Thank you.
David Salmon.
Speaking of anxiety. Good evening. My name is David. I have 2 children who are currently in elementary in this district, and a third who will be enrolling the year after next. We love our kids' teachers very much. They nurture our kids throughout the day. They spend more time than we do with our kids. It's very important to us. I'm also one of more than 840 neighbors who joined me in signing a petition on change.org that I'm very sure most of you are familiar with at this point, asking the board to please choose option B. We understand that enrollment is down. We're not pretending otherwise, but option A asks our youngest children to pay the steepest price. Moving through up to 4 different elementary buildings before middle school with siblings split across schools and parents who never had the time to build a relationship with their teachers. For families like mine with 3 kids spread across grade levels, that means 3 different drop-offs, 3 different pickup lines, and rarely the same teacher twice. That's huge. We have relationships with them that we will lose. And that scares us. I'd ask the board to look at the Sports Creek model that also tried this. I noticed that they were not in your notes. I know they were referenced in one of the past meetings. I was disappointed to see that that wasn't referenced because it is the only thing contrary that points out that they've tried this same approach already. They ran a grade banded elementary model with 2 age splits, K through 2 and 3 through 5. And this past November, the board voted to revert back to neighborhood K through 5. I think that's substantial. I think that's very important to look at and ask why. Cited strong community support, improved transportation, and cost savings. These are all the things that we're trying to cite for option A and for the betterment of our school district. Option A would go further than what Swartz Creek did. It would add a 3rd tier, 3 age bands instead of 2, doubling down on another Michigan district where it's already been abandoned elsewhere. It's been proven. I'd also like to point out a recent reporting in the county press on schools of choice migration across Lapeer County. Since the announcement of these options, parents are looking. They're trying to decide where the future of their kids is going to be so that they can get the best education and the best social environment. North Branch alone has gained hundreds of students in the recent years. Families leaving this district are already going somewhere. Reconfiguring our buildings without addressing why they're leaving won't bring them back. Option B could. We have those relationships. They're in place. We're here because of that. We've never considered leaving because of that. But this might be the first time as a parent of students at Lapeer where many of us are now considering it. I think that's important. Please choose option B. I'm very grateful and thank you for your time.
Thank you. Okay, I think that concludes our public comment that we have for this evening. We will head into our presentation.
Thank you very much, Madam President. So, typically we save commentary for brief reference to public comment at the end of the meeting, but I do want to address it because it does immediately precede this presentation. I really appreciate everybody's comment. just very thoughtful, many sentiments that I can't say I necessarily disagree with. And when you're grappling with decisions of this nature, in this particular round of strategic planning, very rarely in my conversation with the community have I felt like there's a definitive right and a definitive wrong. It's almost like we're all arguing on kind of same opposite sides of the same coin. To the degree that relationships being built with children, being built between parents and teachers are mutually exclusive in a traditional neighborhood elementary school is I think a bit of an overstatement. And we have a number of examples where there's a 2-year experience already in our district where kids, teachers, and parents have a tremendously positive experience. And one of the key features, and we'll talk about this in a moment, but one of the key features of this plan, recognizing that the transitions do create some challenges for families, no doubt, but the idea that future consolidation is on the horizon, and this is not the last stop on the consolidation train, if you will. And as that is a considerably important variable, because there is more than one variable at play here, to maintain the neighborhood school structure and then to stare down the tracks at another closure, maybe 3 to 5 years down the road, we would be going through this same exercise again, where we have to tear down a K-4 elementary school as currently structured, redo transportation runs, redo everything, and disrupt the district pretty considerably again. That is hard to do knowing it's coming. If you think, for example, in my 15 years as superintendent, we've closed 3 elementary schools and merged the 2 Class A high schools, east and west, and we have heard as a board many of these same arguments before, which we recognize are valid. You're not going to hear one person on this leadership team of the district, one board member say that anything they heard tonight isn't a valid argument. When confronted with the challenges we have that we're dealing with, we have to make some difficult decisions. And so when we closed those previous buildings, it was in the hope that, okay, hey, maybe this will stem the tide, things could turn around, enrollment could reverse, trends could reverse. And we made those decisions with the full knowledge that, okay, this may be the end of the consolidation. This time around, and having led the community through 4 or 5 rounds of strategic planning, that isn't the case. So with the full knowledge that it's happening again, it has impacted our decisions in the near term, considering where we may end up. So that being said, I want to just share with the board very briefly an overview of our process thus far and submit a recommendation for your consideration. So this is a slide that for those that were able to attend one of the 2 community forums I focused on. And one that it's not an exhaustive list, but most of the things that are on this list didn't exist in Lapeer schools 15 years ago. Many of the tough decisions we've made in the last 15 years to close buildings and consolidate programs have allowed us financially to support the District of Choices moniker that we selected 15 years ago and offer students K-12 a more robust set of options for their experience here. A key piece of this, if you look at the supports on the right, for example, most of those are people. The teachers that a number of you referenced in your public comment and folks that I've heard from a lot over the last several months, relationships with staff. Please understand that when you're charged with managing the school district budget, we don't have an infinite number of items to select from in order to reduce costs when you're in a deficit position. You can do things like a closed building consolidate program to do the reconfiguration work. Or you can cut staff and you can reduce the number of programs you offer, the supports that are available. And I don't know if that would be met with much support either. I could say, we'll keep all the buildings open, but we're going to cut behavior specialists and psychologists and social workers and technology coaches and learning coaches, new teacher coaches and mentors, and just go bare bones and have principals and teachers. That is an option. We could do things like eliminate services, like transportation is a great example. We could eliminate athletic offerings for students at particular levels. So for example, we could say we're going to eliminate freshman athletics. We can eliminate extracurricular offerings and reduce our teaching staff by laying people off and things like that. Not sure that that would be met with a lot of praise and support. So given somewhat of a binary option, do we want to support people and programs that work with our kids? Or do we want to fight and claw to keep half-empty buildings open? That is the real dilemma that we face. And I grant you that I'm not trying to be overly simplistic about representing those binary options, but in reality, that's what it boils down to. And so, like some of the public commenters, I desire to maintain those same teachers that you've established a relationship with. We work very hard to bring these programs to fruition from a blank page, from where they never existed, and offer those options to our families. Schools of choice is a unique animal, and it is a reality of the current public marketplace of education. Parents are voting with their feet, and we live under the constant pressure of making sure that we do what we think is best for kids in terms of programming and grade level configuration, and strategic planning and bond plans and all of that, but also keeping a keen eye on making sure our most important customer, the students and parents, like it. We have customers. Like any business, we've got to keep an eye on that. I can only tell you that I've stood in front of just too many community forums in my time here in the last decade and a half, and have heard as a rebuttal to pretty much every single recommendation I've ever made to superintendent. If you do this, parents will leave. And so it almost would paralyze us in any decision, because I'm sure you can imagine that no matter which way we go, there's going to be folks that are happy and folks that are unhappy, and those who are unhappy always have that trump card to say, well, we're not going to send our students here. I heard it when we merged the high schools. I heard it when I stood up and closed Seton Elementary and Maple Grove Elementary, and made some other really tough decisions. And not that it isn't a valid argument, because it certainly is, and it's every parent's right to choose where they send their son or daughter to school, and we fully support that. But one of the things up here, our virtual program, has worked to offset our declining enrollment in significant ways. Hundreds and hundreds of students that we had not serviced before. You know, the article that was referenced in one of the public comments, it's a challenge. And we haven't built a new home in Lapeer in a long time. We just heard recent news of another potential development being turned down. And that means that we're competing with other communities who are growing and building, and we're not. And so there's a number of variables that aren't meant to be excuses, but they're meant to just deepen the backdrop of what these decisions, the environment they happen inside of. The reason I start with this is because this is what's most important to us, but this is also important. It takes dollars, limited dollars, to manage a school district of our size. And we have a remaining deficit after these anticipated adjustments and revenue assumptions of between $1 and $2 million. I explained in great detail. I'm not going to go into it again about how these assumptions are arrived at. We have a very good track record in our district of being financially sound as we manage these resources from our taxpayers. And given a $1 to $2 million deficit, and that range is as accurate as it can be as of today, we've got to make some difficult decisions. The reconfiguration plan, as indicated in the community forums, has been the subject of much debate. Again, I will point to the current configuration plan as it is here on the screen, and the capacity that we have to restructure in the near term. So if you look at this, E5K1 at Owen Warner, 2-3 at Schickler, 4-5 at Turl, 6-8 at Zemmer, and 9-12 at either Lapeer High School or the Center for Innovation. If we do indeed maintain the declining enrollment, we have some very viable options that if we were to close, for example, one of those elementary buildings, we could simply reduce the number of transition or the bands, as people refer it. We have 2 elementary buildings, so perhaps an E5K 1-2 building, and then a 3-4-5, and then a 6-7-8. By doing that, we'd simply keep the kids in that one building a year longer, and the other students would go to the new building a year ahead of time, and we wouldn't skip a beat. You wouldn't have to redo any transportation. You wouldn't have to close the building, move staff. Some staff may move based on grade level assignment. The amount of transition is significantly reduced. I'm also very happy that we've been able to already begin the FAQ document. For those of you that haven't accessed it yet, is available on our district website. Put out a sample schedule. So we've been able to maintain bus ride times. If you live in the same household, regardless of how many buildings you're in, but if you're in elementary school, same bus time pickup, same drop off procedures as we currently experience. That's very important to us. And where the students are placed in the various buildings geographically is also very important. Our original plan did not look like this at all. And for those that were able to attend one of the forums, we went into great detail about what kind of our original plan was. It didn't look anything like this. This truly was driven by the data, the logistical challenges of transporting as many students as we do. Many of our families depend on our transportation service. So I use this phrase often, but it's no less true, even though I use it frequently. Transportation many times is the tail that wags the dog. If I can't get kids to and from school in a timely manner, even though I may want a different configuration, if I'm putting a kindergartner on a bus for an hour and 40 minutes, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. And so things like how long is my bus ride is very important to parents. And so it's hard to listen to the public comment and think, oh, they're wrong, that's not right, that's false. Those are opinions, they're valid. Some of what was articulated, I think makes a lot of sense, and there's nothing that was said this evening or in my time interacting with the community that I hadn't thought myself at one point. But when you let the data drive the decision, you look across our state, there are a number of available configurations. These decisions are primarily driven by 2 big variables. What buildings do you have at your disposal, and what is your current enrollment? Right? If I were to design a district just out of the blue with unlimited resources, with building size, and geography not being a part of the decision, it may not look like this. And I think most districts, I've been a superintendent for 15 years, would say the same thing. It really is more of a function of what you have, how many students attend your school district, and what does the future look like in terms of those projections. I've heard it said very often, the district has its mind made up and is not interested in any feedback. I've just been here too long to accept that as true. It's not true. I've sat in front of this community for 15 years and have led some of the largest, most impactful decisions that we've engaged in. And there are times when it was appropriate to throw a choice out to the community and say, what do you think? And great input led to what could have been considered a community decision. And there are other opportunities where leaders make decisions about best decisions, and this is one that I said very openly. This is by far and away, strategically, financially, and educationally, the best plan we have to offer. And I heard it more than once. Are you willing to change your mind? Absolutely. Submit a plan to me that saves the money that it saves, that is as efficient as this from a staffing perspective, that gives our kids the best opportunity to matriculate through our district and be successful, and I'm all ears. Said that from the very beginning. So I will push back on that sentiment a bit this evening that the district wasn't listening. That's just simply not true. I maybe couldn't say that if it was my first year as a superintendent. This is the first go at a major change, but I've just been here too long to stipulate to that. I'm not going to go through all of this, but many of the reasons why this makes so much sense. Number 3 is really a key in this entire calculus. We will, and this is a conservative estimate, between now and the next 3 years, save about $1 to $1.2 million in staffing efficiency with option A. And what does that mean? because I hear all the time a response that says things like, well, money's not the most important thing. You're right, it's not. But $1.2 or $1.3 million allows me to keep staffing levels the same, keep class sizes where they're at, keep the same level of supports and programs for kids that currently exist today. So if I can say that staring down a $1 to $2 million deficit, and I don't have to reduce service to families, options for kids, to me that's a win. I grant you, and I will stipulate that it creates challenges that they're not insurmountable. We have an entire year to plan with our staff, with our parents, and that was the thing that I put on the screen in our community forums. Help us refine our thinking. This can be better. There are blind spots that we haven't considered, and the reason why I want it to be up for debate for a year is so we can make it the best plan possible. Trust me when I tell you, if I could keep everything the way it is now with our K-4 elementaries and not change a thing, I'd be the first person to say, let's keep it the same and not change it. I'm not changing this because we just had a wild hair and said, well, let's shake things up a bit. We don't want to do this. You heard a great presentation tonight from a very successful building doing great things with kids. The beautiful part of this plan is those same teachers are going to be in this district next year doing those same things with our kids. That I don't have to go in front of my staff and say, take a 5% pay cut, or I'm laying people off, or we're reducing, I can't afford the positivity project anymore, because it ain't free, right? And we can't do that. I just venture an educated guess that not many folks would be overly supportive of that. And so we have to, as adults, and I appreciated the level of professionalism and care that went into the thoughts tonight and the many parents I've spoken with, because you guys care. We need that. I just want to help direct our thinking and our focus to how do we partner and make it the best plan possible, because I grant you there are certainly drawbacks to what we presented. I'm not saying it's perfect. It does position us at item 4 for future growth and consolidation, as I mentioned, and not all transitions are the same. Students transitioning from different buildings and colliding with one another creates a variety of issues, staff in the same capacity. We have a continuity in this plan that I think eases the burden of that transition. Numbers and cents, it does save us close to $3 million in 5-year ongoing operation and maintenance cost and a 5-year capital obligation of around $7 million. So when you look at the capital obligation reduction in 5 years, the 3-year operations and maintenance reduction of $3 million, and then the ongoing staffing efficiency over the next 3 years of around $1.5 million, it really does position us well to be able to focus on our core function, which is the programming that we're so focused on providing to kids. Granted, it will look different because the address of the building will be changed, but the services inside of it and what kids experience in the classroom will be unaffected. So this is kind of just an overview of what we've done so far and kind of where we're going. So we're at the June 3rd on the right-hand side there tonight. I'm formally presenting this plan for the board to consider and then vote on at our June 24th meeting. I have responded to every email or request to me. I would continue to do that. This is an ongoing process. We posted our presentation, the FAQ document, and we are still meeting with staff and community to refine the plan. So I make this recommendation humbly to the board this evening, notwithstanding the comments that were made tonight, much of which I agree with, but I think we've done a really good job to mitigate, and not to say that every single question is answered, because that would be very presumptuous of me, but to say given a year to plan and make it as the best we can, I'm very confident, given the passion in this room, that we can bring enough intelligent people together to make the best plan possible. That concludes my comments.
Thank you, Superintendent. Does the board have any questions or comments? Thank you, Superintendent Mulder. We will head into our reports this evening. The first one we have is our Teaching, Learning, and Technology Committee. Mrs. LeVar, would you please share us the report?
Yes, I will. Thank you. We met on May 28th at 6 p.m. via Zoom. The people present were myself, Summer Putnam, and John Van Wagner. Others attending were Matt Wandry, Michelle Bradford, Kim Seifele, Eric Ingalls, Danielle Corbell, Mark Rader, and Mary Moss. The committee discussed the final 2025-2026 budget amendment, preliminary 2026-2027 budget. Eric Ingalls reviewed the 2025-2026 budget amendment and the 2026-2027 budget with the committee. The final budget adoption will be added to the June 23rd, 2026 agenda. We also discussed an overnight out-of-state field trip request, a field trip for the LHS French students to travel to Quebec City and Montreal on June 14th through the 18th of 2027 was discussed. It was the consensus of the committee to recommend approval of this field trip. It will be placed on tonight's board agenda for full board consideration, and the meeting adjourned at 6:40 p.m.
Any questions or comments? Thank you, Mrs. Kolar. Next, we have our policy committee. Dr. Novak, would you please share the policy committee report?
Yes. We met on May 29th at 1 p.m. via Zoom. It was myself, Casey Carpenter, who subbed for Craig Watson. Members absent were Tim Lipka. Others attending were Matt Wandry, Kim Seifele, Eric Ingalls, Danielle Corbell, Mark Rader, and Mary Moss. The meeting was called to order at 1. We discussed the fall 2025-2026 budget amendment and the preliminary 2026-2027 budget. Erica reviewed the 2025-2026 budget amendment and the 2026 and 2027 budget with the committee. The final budget adoption will be added to the June 23rd, 2026 agenda, and our meeting adjourned at 1:36 p.m.
Any questions or concerns? Thank you, Dr. Novak. And then last, we have the Finance and Operations Committee. Dr. Watson, would you please share the report?
Certainly. We met 2 p.m. via Zoom on May 29th. Present members were myself, Summer Putnam, Lisa Novak. Others in attendance were Matt Wandry, Erica Ingalls, Danielle Corbell, Kim Seifele, Mark Rader, Julia Geiger, Katie Carlson from Gallagher, and Mary Moss. We discussed bid pack number 8, fire suppression system. Barton Mello recommends the following for bid package number 8, LHS fire suppression system to Wolverine Fire Protection Company for an amount not to exceed $240,000 for fire suppression upgrades at LHS. It was a consensus of the committee to recommend full board approval at tonight's meeting. Workers' comp program transition. Eric Ingalls, along with Katie Carlson from Gallagher, explained that LCS is exploring transitioning from the current self-insured workers' compensation program to a guaranteed cost workers' compensation policy for the 26-27 policy year through the MAISL Workers' Compensation Group and backed by insurance company Accident Fund Group. A review of the district's workers' compensation history over the past five policy years show the significant cost volatility, increasing claim severity, and growing financial uncertainty under the self-insured model. In contrast, the guaranteed cost option provides cost certainty, budget stability, and reduced administrative risk. It was the consensus of the committee to recommend full board approval at tonight's meeting. L4029, each year the board needs to approve a resolution along with Form L4029, which specifies to the treasurers of the various townships the exact amount to levy for the district's operating non-homestead millage and voted debt levy. Erica explained that the district will once again this year levy 18 mills for operating and 2.65 for 26 and 23 voted debt. This will be added to tonight's board agenda. And final 2025-26 budget amendment, preliminary 26-27 budget. Eric Ingalls reviewed the 2025-26 budget amendment and the 26-27 budget with the committee. Final budget adoption will be added to the June 23rd agenda. And we adjourned at 2:34.
Any questions?
I have a question, and I'm glad Julie's here. What is going on with the high school that we need to upgrade the fire suppression system? I thought everything was good to go when we opened in fall. Can you explain a little bit as to why we have to spend more money?
Yep, so we did the fire suppression head replacement, so it was a 1-for-1 replacement. Following that project, the state came in and is requiring us to bring the whole entire building up to code, which means we have to add roughly 115 heads, I think it is, do some relocation, spacing changing, all of that. So they're requiring us to bring it up to code.
Did codes change?
So some of it, the building wasn't up to code when it originally opened, and the rest of it is we have some rooms that have changed function over the years, which changed the head placement requirements and all of that. Kind of stemmed from the inspectors coming in and kind of seeing what's there and how the building's functioning and kind of requiring us to take the next step. We did have a very lengthy conversation with the state on this because as a 1-for-1 replacement, we really shouldn't have to be required to bring it up to code. But their stance is more of a safety concern in the future of the building not going anywhere. You either take the bullet and you spend the money now and upgrade it now, or they're going to require you to periodically do it over the years. And since we have $5 available, it made the most sense to bid it out right away and get it done. And then that building will be 100% up to date on every step of that fire suppression system.
When will these upgrades be done? Will it be done over the summer while the kids aren't there? Will it impact anything going on at the high school at that time?
So our tentative plan is to start it this summer and be done by spring break and kind of function it more on doing cutovers when students are not there. We do have a 6 to 8, maybe 10-week review from the plan review. We're hoping that send out contracts tomorrow, kind of get that kind of rolling and be able to start some of the work this summer. And then throughout the school year when there are breaks, we can shut down a section of the fire suppression, make those final tie-ins. They're going to do everything that they can ahead of time and only shut down the system like a handful of times to make the final connection. So our target is to be completed by the end of spring break.
So because of these things not being done, we're not up to code, are we in jeopardy of getting dinged by the state for violations or anything like that?
No, they're aware of the steps that we've taken. They're aware that it's that we were going out to bid. Once we have the contract in hand, we'll end up letting the BFS know and the deputy director know. And so they'll continue to let us close out what we did last year because they're holding our permit hostage on that. So they'll let us close that out knowing that we have this in plan review and it is being done.
So is there a deadline that they're giving us? Is that where we're working within the goal by next spring break?
They originally were telling us when they were forcing us to do this that we had a year. Now that they know that we're taking it seriously, we're going out to bid, the whole deadline has kind of taken a step back. We're just trying to do our due diligence to get it completed as quickly as we can and not disrupt the building as much as we can.
Thank you. I didn't mean to put you on the spot.
You're okay.
I knew you were here. And I appreciate your
problem.
sharing it with us tonight. Thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Thank you, Dr. Ronson. That concludes our reports. We'll head right into our action items. We have our first consent grouping. Approval of the minutes of May 6, 2026. Set organizational meeting for 10 a.m. on July 17, 2026. Michigan High School Athletic Association 2026-2027 membership resolution. Michigan Association of School Boards 2026-2027 membership. LCISD Parent Advisory Committee representative. And then our overnight out-of-state students to travel to Quebec City and Montreal on June 14th to the 18th, 2027. Are there any items anybody wishes to have removed from the consent agenda? Okay, I hear none, so I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion that reading the minutes and the policies be waived and the consent agenda items be approved as presented.
Support.
Great, we have a motion and a support. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamar?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Van Layden?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next we have bid pack number 8, fire suppression system.
I'll make a motion that bid package number 8 LHS fire suppression upgrades be awarded to Wolverine Fire Protection Company for an amount not to exceed $240,000.
Support.
Okay, we have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamar?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Van Layden?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next we have probationary teacher resolution.
Make a motion that probation of teacher performance resolution be approved as presented.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamar?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Van Layden?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Resolution approving 2026 tax levy and Form L 4029.
I'll make a motion that the 2026 tax levy resolution and Form L 4029 is specified to the treasurers of the various townships the exact amount of the levy.
Okay. I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamar?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Van Layden?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Next, we have the cooperative agreement for workers' compensation.
I'll make a motion that the district transition to a cooperative agreement between the participating school districts and intermediate school districts known as the Metropolitan Association for Improved School Legislation Workers' Compensation Group and the MAISL Trust / the cooperative agreement.
Support.
Okay. I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamar?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Van Layden?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, next, closed session.
I move that the board move to closed session to discuss the 2026-2028 SEIU food service master agreement to be approved as presented permissible by the Open Meetings Act.
Support.
Okay. I have a motion and a support. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Mr. Lipka?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamar?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Van Layden?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Okay, we will now move into closed session. Okay, it is 8:36, and we are back in open session. So we will continue with our action items. So we have the 2026-2028 SEIU Food Service Master Agreement.
I'll make a motion that the 26-28 SEIU Food Service Master Agreement be approved as presented.
Support.
Okay, I have a motion and a support. Any discussion on the motion? Okay, hearing none. Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Dr. Watson?
Aye.
Mrs. Lamar?
Aye.
Mr. Carpenter?
Aye.
Mr. Van Layden?
Aye.
Mrs. Putnam says aye. Motion carries. Okay, that concludes our action items this evening. We will go into board member communications. Do we have any communications this evening?
We had our Leader Fund golf outing this past weekend. Happy to say that my team beat Mr. Laundrie's team. You were 10 under, he wasn't. Just say that. Because he was trying to say things ahead of time that didn't coincide with his final results. So just rubbing it in, but no, it was a great turnout. We had 30-some teams up there, great weather, great day. All of our volunteer support that we had ended up being a great time again. So we appreciate it very much.
I just want to say thank you to Michelle and team for their presentation. That was very good. I kind of drew it back to when we did the strength finders here at the board.
We were just
And
talking
how,
about doing that.
you know, the positive words and, you know, like, it's just such a neat thing to see the kids learning that, because I think about that when I go into like a restaurant and you have good service. Like, it's important to go back and say you have good service, right? Not always get the negatives, right? So we're teaching that now to these kids from a young age, so that's really important. I'm excited about that.
Congrats to our girls soccer. I mean, that's awesome. Glad that they were all able to be here. It was, and all the parents and all of the support that they have. I mean, it's phenomenal to see one of our athletic teams rise to that level. It's a great feeling to know that all those years of freezing on the soccer field.
Right.
And I know that there's a lot of soccer parents here that know what I'm talking about. So huge accomplishment for them all. It's so nice to know that some of them are going to play in college and that so many of them are moving on to bigger and better things. So it's great.
Our seniors this week, right? We are celebrating them as they're well deserved in all their accomplishments. So always Tuesday night is a great night, having the community come out and really celebrate our students. We had our community high graduation tonight, which was wonderful. And tomorrow night we will have the high school graduation. So of course, that is something that we always look forward to. The other thing I'd like to do is just from a board perspective, really appreciate you, Superintendent Laundrie, and the leadership team of really bringing together the strategic plan. And we really appreciate the community forums and all the really exchanges, right? The questions, the feedback, the things that you guys, we really are listening. This is tough on all of us too. We really do love our kids. I mean, we volunteer a lot, not only for the board, but within our district and our community. So it really does register right to our hearts on taking in and absorbing everyone's thoughts, right? I mean, at the end of the day, we know we have to make a financial, fiscally responsible decision, right? That's what the community has voted us in to make sure that we do and can continue to leave our district in a financially sound environment like it should. But it doesn't mean any of your comments in the box aren't being heard. We are aware. Trust us, as Super Laundrie said this evening, if we could leave it the way it is today, I mean, we would. We honestly would. But it is important to us to keep all the opportunities we have here to all of our students to pick and choose what is their best passion that guides them. And we also appreciate every single staff member, teacher, custodian, cook, bus driver, you know. I don't mean to leave anybody out, but we appreciate every single one of them. And I can tell you the one thing we don't want to have to do is the amount of work they put in to get back to our kids every single day. We don't want to ask them to take a day off. That's the last thing that I want to do. I know the rest of my board can probably, I hope, agree with me, but those are the last things we want to do. So, I mean, again, we really appreciate you coming. We really do appreciate the communication that is happening, coming to our forums. It's important to us, and we really do want to make the best decision. and it's not lighthearted either. So I just wanted to make sure that you guys knew that we appreciate you coming and sharing with us your thoughts. We really do. So with that, Superintendent Wondry, I'll hand it over to you for your comment.
Thank you, and I just want to echo that sentiment. The FAQ is a very robust document. We put a lot of thought into that and spent many hours taking direct feedback from the forums and emails and meetings that I had to address as many questions as we could. But it's certainly an incomplete document because new questions will emerge. And we can't, one thing I love about working here, and I have since I started working with the number of board members that I've been fortunate to be associated with, is there really is no agenda here. It's really honestly people that just are committed to looking at what the data tells them and making what they feel is the best decision, right? I'm not going to say that every single one of those is without flaw or without alternative, but it is comforting to know that I look at the interactions at our community forum, I look at the demeanor of people that come and speak in front of this board, and it's just very reassuring that we have an organization that truly does interact with each other respectfully, and we listen to people. Look around some bodies that meet regularly in this area that we don't have a similar level of decorum, and it's disheartening as a community member, as an employee of this school district, to see some of those important institutions and organizations not function, I think, appropriately. And I'm very proud of the fact that we have an organization that is professional and committed to the most important word in our title, which is community. No one sits up here as all-knowing. I don't ever use the word education expert my entire life, nor will I ever. I'm just a regular person like all of you, taxpayer of this community, a committed professional to this organization. And I would hope that folks who consider leaving the district because of any decision that we make, that is a constant and ever-present reality, that you would give me the opportunity, or anyone here, or our leadership team, or our principal, to talk you out of it and meet with us personally. We take that challenge very, very seriously. Mary is the administrative assistant to the board and to in my office. If you call her and set up an appointment, Mary will be in my office within 24 to 48 hours. And we can meet for as long as you want and ask any question you want. I'll show you every piece of data you want to look at, or any one of these people is available as well. And that is not just a platitude. That is not just a, I have an open door policy. I hear that all the time. A lot of people don't. We do. I want to sell you on it. That's my job. My job is to make decisions, but also be open to advice, guidance, alternatives, and adjustments. And this thing isn't going into effect until the fall of 27, so we got time. So take me up on my offer, and I'd love to meet with anyone that has an inclination to do so. Thank you.
Thank you, Superintendent. With that, I'm going to take a motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Support.
Dr. Novak?
Aye.
Dr. Roger?
Aye.
Mrs. LaVar?
Aye.